All right, so Sail plays from 2 to 2 players. It says you could play with up to 2, and I think it would be good at 2 players.
Yeah, you should stick around 2. Hey there, welcome to Board Game Barrister, our local game shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Andy, and I'm here with Gordon, and today we're talking Sail, a game where we're playing as a 2-player pirate crew who are trying to get out of a Kraken's hunting territory before it takes us down. Let's get into it. Welcome to Sail, where we're going to play as a pirate crew trying to get our ship across these Kraken-infested seas before it's too late. The first thing we do whenever we sit down to this game is going to be picking a scenario that we want to play this time. We've got a sheet of available scenarios here, starting with a learning scenario and then getting harder from there all the way up to scenario 5. And each of those setups is going to give you positions for all these tokens out on your board here. So I've got us set up for scenario number 1. We also get to pick pirates we're going to play as, each of which has a little special ability to help you out. And before we start the game, we're going to choose which player is representing each side of the board here, that side and this side. So this game's kind of designed to be played across the table from your teammate, but if you're sitting on the same side of the table, you can just turn it sideways and then you'll be on opposite sides, or just represent who's on which side with your pirate cards. Now each round of this game, we're going to grab our player deck, we're going to deal 9 cards to each player, and within each round, we're going to play a number of what are called tricks, which just mean that each player at the table is going to play 1 card. Cards in this game look a little bit like this. They have 3 distinct elements you need to know about. The first is that they have a suit. The suit is represented by the color of the card, as well as the color of the text. This is actually a yellow suit card because of the yellow text. They have a number, this is an 8, and they have a symbol, which is separate from the suit and will help us do important actions to try to escape the Kraken. So if our first player starts us off with this 8 in the yellow with that steering wheel symbol, our second player wants to follow up this card with one that's going to do something great for our crew. And they're going to do that by trying to pull off special action combinations. Many combinations of 2 symbols will do things to move our ship forward or fight off that Kraken. A pair of steering wheels means the ship's going to move forward in the direction of the player who won the trick with the higher card. A pair of steering wheels with a Kraken tentacle involved means we move forward 1 space just the same, except in this case we also take 1 damage. When we take a damage, we add one of these Kraken cards into our deck, which is going to give us more opportunities to take damage in the future. And if this deck ever runs out of cards, we lose the game. 2 steering wheels with 2 Kraken tentacles is even worse. That means you're taking 2 damage off the top of that deck. But there is a way to fight back and deal with all those tentacles you're adding to your deck. If you play a cannon card alongside a steering wheel with a Kraken, instead of moving forward, you're going to get rid of this card from your deck and put it back on the bottom of the Kraken deck. 2 cannons is very exciting, but a bit of a gamble, because that means you're going to flip the top card of what's left in the player deck and do a random action based on what comes up. In this case, we get to shoot this tentacle back to the bottom of the Kraken deck. That's great. And finally, a pair of mermaids, which is the hardest to pull off because there's only 1 mermaid in each suit, is going to allow you to move your ship forward straight 1 space, which is the equivalent of 2 normal moves. So in response to that 8 with the steering wheel that's been played, the second player has to match suits if they're able to out of their hand. So if they do have yellow cards, they have to play yellow cards. They've pulled off a pair of steering wheels here, which means we're moving our ship forward, and we're also going to check who played the higher card. So because the 8 is the higher, that player wins that trick, and we're going to make note of that on our little trick tracker here, because as soon as either player has won 4 tricks, the round is over and we move on to the next one. There are 4 ways to lose this game and only 1 way to win. One of the main ways we'll lose is if that Kraken deck is ever empty. You're also going to notice that within that deck there is a Kraken card. Whenever we would discard this card, we're going to put it back on the bottom, and we're going to move this Kraken tracker 1 step forward. If that tracker ever hits this final space, then we lose. You can see these little storms out here on the ocean. If we don't make it past those storms by the end of round 2 and then the end of round 4, we lose. And last, if we get to the end of round 5 and we still haven't gotten to that final goalpost, then we lose the game. But if we can safely navigate those waters, not running over Kraken tentacles which damage us, not running into islands which stop us cold in our tracks, and we can eventually get to the end before round 5, then we win it. Well, if there's one thing I love in all of board gaming, it is a tiny box with a ton of content, and this game is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm talking about that type of game. It is incredibly tiny, to the point where I can put it in like the pockets on my carrying bag and stuff like that. But the amount of stuff you find when you open the box, and the amount of like brain power and replayability that goes into the game itself is huge. It's not just stuff content, it's actual like gameplay content that feels really engaging.
Yeah, I really found that the decision process at every phase of the game, right, whether it is at the very beginning of what card am I going to pass, to what card am I going to play when I'm leading, to what card am I going to play when I'm the second person. Do I want to take it? Can I take it? What are the effects that we want? Really excellent in terms of the decision process and just how engaged you are. All right, Cannons McGee.
All right, Cannons McGee.
Do
let's
your
do
thing.
it. Top 2. All right, we're scooting forward.
So one of the tensions that I liked in Sail was that it felt like we were both the captain. And we were the captain whenever we were playing the card. Didn't matter if we were leading, right? So if we were the one who was starting the trick or making the first play, we're like, okay, here's what I'm going to try and telegraph a plan, and that plan could be I'm giving you options. And then when I'm responding, okay, I am going to try to figure out what your plan was, and then either I can go along with your plan, or I can say, yeah, you know what, I can't go along with that plan, or even, oh yeah, bad plan. And so that feeling of how we were interacting as that, where we're each in control, I thought was really, really interesting and really engaging, and I would play that all the time.
Yeah, you could sum the game up in like a really epic way by saying the only way forward is together. Like literally you have a board in front of you, but the only way you can ever touch and interact with that board is to play the right combination of cards. And it doesn't even mean like, oh, we played cards that means we get to move our ship. It means, ooh, that combination of cards means our ship moves this way because of the choices we've made. It's one of those really cool games where in the practice of doing it enough, you start to see how the patterns unfold, and you start to feel really cool about the way that you can say, ah yeah, the correct response to that is to move us this way and move forward that way. Or, yeah, you've stuck me in a corner and I'm going to because we've been doing this so long together, because we kind of know how the mechanics work, I'm going to show you that I don't have the card you hoped I had by playing a worse card.
Right.
Let's hook it out there. Yeah, we did it!
Yeah!
Boom. We need to move. It's fine, Catherine.
Keep her moving.
Keep her moving. This is one of the most straightforward, introductory, great trick-taking games I've played. The concepts of trick-taking games are so clean and simple in this one, to the point where there's only 3 suits. There's no such thing as a trump suit in this one, which is a whole extra thing to explain to people in a lot of different trick-taking games. So the absence of some of that stuff makes it just a really clean entry-level trick-taking game that I would suggest to anybody, whether or not they were familiar with trick-taking games.
I would almost want to not call this a trick-taking game. Not because it isn't, but because you can just explain this game without any of that overhead, right? If it's your turn, you play a card, the other person plays a card. If that card is of the same color, the same suit, and a higher number, then they're going to start the next card. If it's not, you're going to play again, and then look at the symbols and see what happened. You can explain all of that without using the jargon of trick-taking. And then once they play that, then you can say later, did you like that? Did you like the way that played? Now let me show you. That's actually a whole genre of games.
Yeah.
Let's play something else.
Yeah, we tricked you into learning trick-taking. All right, I think that does it for Sail. Thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time with it. We made a wild dash to the finish in our second game there, and we got one space away from it, and then we were swallowed by the sea. What a bummer. Thank you so much once again. If you like the video, hit the subscribe. You get to see a new video with us every single week. Leave a comment if you got one. Hit that like button. That'd be awesome. And check out our online store. Sail is in there, as well as a bunch of other really cool games. Thanks so much for joining us this time. We will see you next week.